Welcome, everybody. Today, we are lucky enough to have the whole record team. Well, not the whole, actually. There's a couple of others that are in the background that aren't making it today, who we're very thankful for. But today, we have with us Jared, of course. Hello, Jared.
Hi, Zanita.
We have with us Ashley. Welcome, Ashley, to the show again.
Thank you.
And we have Juliana, which is really exciting. Hello, Juliana. You're also a second-time coming guest. Hey.
Yes, I am. Hello.
It's been a little while. Now, today on Record Live, we are doing a little bit of a review of Record for the year of 2025. As we were planning this, I kept saying Record for 2026, as if my mind has already jumped over next year and just fast forwarded to 27. But this is for 2025 for anyone who is also confused like me. And I just want to emphasize, this is actually not our last episode for the year. It sounds like it would be, being that it's kind of like an overview, but we have a few more episodes coming, but just with the organization overall, this is just coming early. So stay tuned for those. But today, I guess to go into it, Jared, you're obviously our editor of Record. And so I want to start with you. What is kind of something that you have felt proud of as the editor of Record this year?
Proud of, probably the thing that I'm most proud of is our WhatsApp channel. We started the WhatsApp channel in consultation with some folks in Papua New Guinea on how we could deliver news for them better, because it has been a challenge over the years I've worked with Record to deliver content to them, just because of the logistics of print and the cost involved. But they're all using WhatsApp. So we've grown that channel in about 10 months. We've gone from not having a channel to 8,000 followers we ticked over this week, and 99% of them, I would say, without exaggeration, are in Papua New Guinea. So we're really finding ways to serve not just Papua New Guinea, but the wider Pacific. And that, I think, in the past couple of years has been something I've been really proud of, seeing more contributions, more news, more feature writers. And the WhatsApp channel is the latest sort of step in that evolution to become a truly representative Pacific paper, not just for Australia and New Zealand, as has been sometimes the misconception. You know, we're a South Pacific based thing. So including the Pacific, it's part of our DNA. We need to do it. We're excited to do it. My great dream at some point is to see Pacific faces on the team as part of Record. I mean, in some ways they are on the team because they're contributing and they're writing and sending stuff in from the ground, which is super important to see them as part of the team in that way. But also, you know, one day maybe there'll be a Pacific editor of Record, and that would be awesome. I'd love to see that in the future.
That would be awesome. I know when I went over to the Pacific Islands for the first time this year, they didn't have as many copies of the Record that we might see in our churches, and that they loved them. They had like holding them close to their bodies all day long and playing tug of war with them. So I think this WhatsApp channel is really awesome in helping them just get connected with things. Now, Jared, I should actually rewind a little bit, because I would like to just get to know all of you before we kind of dive deep into this conversation. Now, people may assume a lot of things about your role as the editor, but can you tell us, like, flesh that out a little bit? What, like, in a few sentences, what does your job day to day kind of look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been about content in our spaces, in our places. We're always trying to provide good content and provide content that meets the needs of the church and the purpose of Record as directed by the South Pacific Division. What that looks like, the part of my job that surprised me, I guess, as editor, was how much potentially correspondence there was. There's letters and there's emails and there's chasing up feature writers and going back and forth. And so there's quite a lot of time spent just communicating with church members, church leaders, church pastors, lay people, and the team, you know, letting people know what's happening, communicating some of that stuff out. So good part of my day, there's a chunk in correspondence. There's obviously some of what people might think of as traditional editing, like reading stories, reading articles, rewriting or fixing or tweaking. And then The other part of my role, one of my passions and why I got into this space in the first place, is to actually write. I do get to write still, so I like that. Writing editorials fairly regularly, writing features and different things for signs and for record. Yeah, that's a big part of my role.
Yeah. So you're not just sitting there with a red pen the whole time.
Not at all.
Nice. Love it. All right, Ashley, do you want to tell us a little bit about what your role is at Record?
Yeah, so as assistant editor, I feel like I do a lot of little things here and there. A big part is editing features that come through, also writing my own. I also really enjoy writing, and so I really loved that aspect of my job. And I also do a lot of the social media. I run the Instagram and the TikTok and all of that. If you see any crazy reels up, chances are I'm the one behind them. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. There's a variety. I feel like no day is the same, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, now Ashley's a fairly new person to our team. You've only come in the last year. We've really loved your contribution. But as you've, I guess, seen features come through this year, is there any in particular that has kind of stood out to you personally?
Well, there have been a few. I guess first, as a whole, there's been our Living Covenant series, which I think has been really good. We've had a lot of new writers, a lot of young writers from across the Pacific, and that's been great to have that representation. And it's been exciting because I feel like I've learned a lot about all of these various characters, and it's cool to see them through other people's eyes, and it kind of takes away the scariness, I guess, of the Old Testament and shows how God works through ordinary people. And there've been quite a few really good ones that have stood out. And in fact, yours was one of them, Zanita. Your one on Hosea. That one was really good. I really enjoyed that. I'm talking about how much God is in love with his people. And yeah, I think you painted a really beautiful picture of a Bible story, which, is hidden away in the Old Testament and might be a little bit confusing for some people to understand. And yeah, I guess that was the whole point of Living Covenant, to bring new perspectives and new ideas to stories which might seem kind of really old and confusing.
Yeah, I agree. I've really loved this series. It's been cool. I think there's a lot of Old Testament characters that really slip between the lines and who we don't know a lot about. So it's been awesome to have people write about these characters through their own stories as well. So yeah, obviously everyone has seen a bit of that come out this year, but next year there will be more on that. Go, Jared. What do you got?
I was going to say, as we're having this conversation and reflecting a little bit on the year, as you say, we're not finished the year, but we're just looking back, because this might be the last opportunity. We've got a couple of really good guests lined up between now and Christmas. But I'd love to hear from our viewers. If you're watching also, or watching this later, even listening to this, tell us what you've enjoyed from Record this year. We'd love to hear what has resonated with you, what you are enjoying, what you've read that's really stuck with you. We'd love to hear from you, our viewers and our watchers, or if not, just give us a shout out. Where are you watching from?
Yeah, awesome. Now, Juliana, I'd love to hear a bit from you as well. You have been our news editor for a little while now. We love your work, and you've obviously started up Record Wrap this year too. So if anyone who hasn't seen that, that's another little podcast thing which you can talk about. But do you want to tell us a little bit about what your role entails on a day-to-day kind of basis?
Yes, so as the news editor, most of my time is focused on anything related to news. So processing submissions that we receive, people email them to us, they send them through the form on our website, or even, sometimes on WhatsApp when they get my number. So yeah, processing stories and then doing some investigation online as well to find out what's happening, because sometimes people don't let us know what's happening. So then we have to see what they're posting about on social media and be like, oh yes, this should be a Record story. and then chase them and get the story. Writing news And so I am responsible for news in digital, so on the website and putting them on Facebook as well, but also in print. So we have the news and flashpoint sections in print. So I am responsible for putting that together as well. And then just like all of us, contributing to little things and helping each other out. So helping with social media as well here and there, and our email newsletter and different things.
Awesome. Now, you're also required to attend a lot of events to write about them. Has there been any event that has kind of stood out to you or that you've really enjoyed going to?
Oh yes, this year I got to go to two events that have stood out for me. Chronologically, the first one was the North New South Wales Conference Big Camp, which I got to go to help them with the coverage of the event. And we created the very first video version of our podcast, Record Rap, the news podcast. It was a bit of like a traditional news program, but it was so nice being there on the ground, covering everything that was happening, and just bringing a little bit of everything that was happening every day to all the screens on the main tents during the camp. So people could watch and see things that they didn't get to do, but they could see what it looked like, and bringing perspectives from people in the community as well, surrounding the camp. I got to interview a lifeguard at the beach during the baptisms, and he was not a Christian, but I got to get his perspective and bring it to the screens on camp. And it was really nice just seeing people finding out how their presence there during that whole week impacts the community. And the second event, I think, it was very good to be part of, was the TPUM session in Fiji. It was my very first time at any Pacific nation. And so I visited Fiji, and even though it was only Fiji, because it was a TPUM session, I got to get a taste of each nation that forms the Trans-Pacific Union Mission. And it was really nice. Just, I don't know, people are so nice. I never felt so welcomed in my life. Yeah, and they're very committed to mission as well. So it was really a nice experience reporting on everything that was happening there.
Awesome. I think that's what people always come home saying, is that I've never felt so welcomed in my life.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone across the seas for being so hospitable to us. Jared, I know I've asked you about what made you proud, but do you have any kind of standout moments or features from Record?
One thing personally that was really, I guess it's also an event. The general conference session happened this year. The major meeting, I suppose, that our church has at all levels of the church. Everyone comes from around the world. And again, it's that sense of coming together and worshiping with brothers and sisters from every part of the world is a really exciting thing. I was working for Record, but also Adventist Review. So there was a nice collaboration there. I was working for someone else doing something a bit different. But also, I think Tracy, who also attended, counted up, and I think we put up 19 stories in the 9 days we were there or something. We did a lot of work. It was hard work. It was long days, but it was very exciting. It was, as I said, it just was that spirit of mission. You could see people from all corners of the globe. And for me, that was a huge moment this year. It was very busy, but also really enjoyable to do. And I love that Record has been able to be present. It's actually been an intentional thing that we've tried to do this year. The three of you actually have all attended big camps, one big camp or another. And I know Ashley has some experiences from her big camp, attendance as well, as what Juliana has just shared. But Zanita, you also went at the very beginning of the year to New Zealand for one of their big camps, and like just the opportunity that Record has had to serve and to communicate, to tell stories, to do newsletters or video reports at each of the big camps that we've been able to attend this year. I'm also very proud of that, seeing that happen and seeing those bridges being built and seeing that collaboration happening. very exciting for me to see that we can not just offer the print magazine every fortnight, but there is other things that we can do in that space. So I don't know if Zanita or Ashley, you want to reflect briefly on your camp experiences this year, or what you might have gained from some of your travels, some of the events that you've done. But yeah, for me, seeing us be able to be involved in that way, it's been really cool to see this year.
You want to kick it, Ashley?
Well, I went to 2 big camps. The first one in April was Sydney, the Greater Sydney Conference Big Camp. That one was really cool. That was my first time going. I was writing a newsletter that would be printed every day and then handed out to people, put on the chairs and all of the tents. And it was really cool to be a part of that. I was also doing some reels on their social media. But I really enjoyed my time at the Northern Australian Conference Big Camp. That was really cool. I met a lot of cool people with really interesting stories, and I'm like a fairly shy person, I guess. I don't find it all that easy to just walk up to people and start talking to them and ask them what their story is. But for some reason on this camp, whether it was my media badge or the fact that, I was needing to fill the pages of my newsletter, I was going everywhere talking to everyone and, hearing all about people's personal ministries, how they came to God. I met a woman who was the second woman ever in 1959 to swim across from a nearby island to the mainland. I talked to people whose parents were part of the stolen generation, and they were telling me about how they'd come to God and just all these crazy stories. And it was really empowering. It was really impactful. I was writing up this newsletter and it was just filled with these stories. And I just had the sense of, that's what Record is about, telling stories. And it made me really excited. And yeah, I'm hoping that I can go again and hopefully to other big camps too, to meet other people.
Zanita, you were at South New Zealand, and we had a comment from our friend Dr. Lyle Heiss, who said that Record produced a great newsletter at South New Zealand camp. Do you want to just briefly tell us about South New Zealand camp?
Yeah, I've got to shout out to Lyle first off, because he actually helped me get a lot of stories. He was telling me over breakfast, I've got a good story for you. So thank you, Lyle. That was very helpful. But yeah, that was the first newsletter in a long time. I think New Zealand used to have a newsletter a long time ago. So we kind of kicked that off again, which was really cool. And yeah, like Ashley said, it was awesome just to connect with our neighbors. Like we obviously produce their articles and we talk to them via email and all of that, but to actually interact with them and hear their stories was really awesome. And just to, I guess, create something that was a bit more orientated to their community. For me, that was Christchurch. It was a newsletter for their big camp. So it's more specific to, Christchurch. And I think that was kind of cool as well.
I just remembered one of the highlights at General Conference session was actually interviewing the Papua New Guinea Prime Minister. Also got to interview Glenn Townend when he was newly elected as SPD president. So for me, like as a journalist, as someone who wants to know how people are thinking and feeling and what their story is, it was really exciting to get those opportunities to represent SPD on the world stage. I guess we've played those interviews, I believe, on Record Live as well. You guys may have seen or heard those interviews. So those were real highlights in terms of events for me or things that we could bring you. But drilling down into the articles now, Juliana, were there any articles, maybe a news article, maybe a feature article, maybe something you've written, maybe something someone else has written that you've seen that has impacted you this year, that's sort of stood out to you for one reason or another, or maybe you've learned something or it's changed your perspective in some way?
I think I want to talk about this from a news perspective. So this year we actually have published this far 354 news stories. We are above last year's average, so that's very good. That's a lot of stories. And I actually had a look through all the stories recently because, it's good to see how the year was. And there were so many things happening. And I don't think I can pick one specific, but it was just really good seeing that it was a year of firsts. There were a lot of firsts. The first New South Wales Pathfinder Big Camp. It was a combined, sorry, not Big Camp, Campery. Pathfinder Campery. It was the very first one for the whole stage. But I was also excited to see that during this whole season of sessions, there were a lot of sessions in the unions, in the SPD, and the missions and conferences as well. And there were firsts for conferences and missions as well, because it was the first time that for, I think, Vanuatu mission, Victoria Conference, and Morobe mission, that it was the first time that they appointed women as general secretaries. So I think that's a good thing. Yeah. So I'm excited about many things that happened, but yeah, those maybe are the main ones.
Is Jared still with us? Seems to be frozen on my end.
Nope, I'm here.
Maybe you're throwing it to me. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, I think it's your turn to ask a question.
Sure, sorry. Well, I would like to know, one thing I really like about the record is the conversations column. I think it's an awesome way to connect with our readers and to just allow them to kind of have input in what we do. And I would be interested to know, any of you can answer this. I'm not sure who receives those emails, but have there been any responses that have made you feel really like, oh, I'm really glad that we do what we do, or really proud of your work with the record?
I tend to put those pages together. Sometimes it can be sensitive. There are negative letters that we receive too. It's not all just pats on the back. But I like that about conversations. I like the fact that people who disagree or who have sometimes even out there ideas can still feel part of the church and still have a voice in that column. It is hard to narrow down, one response or another. There's nothing particularly from this year that stands out to me, except I did have a quick look before this conversation. There was an article that we wrote, and they didn't write it on the letter that they submitted, but it was an article about mental health. Some lady had been very raw and open about her experience, her struggles, and this person had written in and related heavily to what she was saying, basically sharing that, day by day they still feel some of those feelings that she was expressing, but how much they trusted in God. And just to see that reflection on something that we were able to curate and put out into the world, we were able to share in record, to know that people out there are really journeying with the writers, but also like feeling some of those pieces. They're engaging on a deep level with some of that stuff. And the interplay of what we're able to do in sharing those stories more broadly, what happens in an individual's life who's able to read that story, and then also what God is doing and the glory that they're giving him for not only the original person who wrote and their journey, but the person who's reflecting on God and his impact on their life, who has read the piece and still seeing God's impact in their lives. That is always a joy to me to see. People are reading, they're engaging, and for me, the whole purpose of record is that not every piece will speak to every person, and not every piece will even make you do anything. But I get excited when people take action because of a record piece, whether it's to start a ministry in your church because you're inspired by what you see someone else doing, you think, I can do that too. The Holy Spirit prompts you, I can do that too. Whether it's encouragement and support, like this person experienced, like I've been through that, I feel seen, someone else has gone through that, my faith is stronger, my faith is bolstered. Whatever action they can take, even if it's our encouragement on Record Live from week to week, Zanita, seems to be, often it comes down to read your Bible more, pray more. Like let's be in this journey together. Let's do something practical. Let's try and take action. The point of that is because we need to be active as Christians. We need to be doing something with our faith. And if Record can push anyone or nudge anyone to take an action in their faith journey, for me, that's a win. For me, that's the point of what we do, even if we never hear about it, even if they never write us a letter or we never know because they never comment on the post, they never do anything. I content myself with the fact that I'm sure there are people that are impacted by what we do that we never hear about. And so we've just got to keep being faithful in doing that so that we can make an impact, whether we hear about it or not.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I would say it's also, there's often people who write into Record who are very vulnerable and transparent with the things that they have gone through and are going through. And we, really value that. I know even on Record Live, we had David Riley on recently, who is, going through his own battles. And it was just awesome to have someone who is, sick maybe at the end of their life, be so open and transparent about that. So thank you everyone who has contributed for putting yourself out there, because that can be very scary when so many people are reading and watching. Now, as we kind of near the end of this episode, I would love to know, have you got something to say, Jared? No, it looks like you're getting close to the microphone.
I thought about it, but it's fine. Keep going.
All right. I would love to know, as we head into 2026, what you guys are, I guess, excited for in the new year, and what your hopes are for Record in 2026. So maybe we'll start with you, Ashley.
All right. Well, I think I probably have a couple. One of the events that I went to this year was the New Zealand Pacific Union Conference constituency meetings. And it was my first constituency meeting. I'd never been to one, never even really knew how they worked. So it was really cool to see that. And it was cool to connect with a lot of people from the French-speaking countries, like New Caledonia, French Polynesia. And I was talking to them a lot about, how do we get more stories for Record from those countries, because there is that language barrier. And we got one this week. Someone that I connected with over in New Zealand sent me one from New Caledonia, and it was in French, and we translated it. And I don't know, it was kind of exciting to see that come through. And so, I guess that's one thing that I'm hoping, that we can get more stories from those countries. And also, as a social media person, I do hope that our socials will continue to grow. And I hope that we'll be able to engage more young people. I think social media is a good avenue for engaging young people in today's day and age. And it's important to be a positive voice out there, because there's a lot of rubbish online, and so I think it is important to be in that space. And that's something that I'm excited about, and hoping that next year will continue to go well.
Awesome, love it. How about you, Juliana?
I am very excited about mission, I guess, and the stories that we're going to get from all the mission initiatives. This year we had the GC session, and I feel like conversations about mission are getting, more frequent. And next year we have the launch of South Pacific for Christ. And then in June, July, we'll have TPOM for Christ. And so I'm very excited about the stories that we're going to get from there and that we'll get to tell. And I think that's the main thing. And also some projects that we're working for next year. So we're not going to talk about them now, but we are working on them.
Awesome. Jared, is there anything you want to add to that? Is there anything you're excited to see next year for the Record?
I don't know if it's stealing Juliana's thunder with some of the projects we're working on, but the Living Covenant the Living Covenant series that we talked about earlier in the conversation, we're hoping to turn that into a book like we did with the 28 Fundamentals and the Parables of Jesus, to have the third one in that series and to wind that series up in a sense, will be very exciting for us. I echo what Juliana said. I'm very excited for the South Pacific for Christ and seeing some of that mission go out, not just in Papua New Guinea, which has already had Papua New Guinea for Christ, which was amazing, but TPUM for Christ, AUC for Christ, NZPUC for Christ, Papua New Guinea for Christ again. Like seeing that cycle in this next quinquennium is going to be very exciting. The opportunity to, I guess, continue to work in the Pacific and to expand Record into new demographics, like Ashley mentioned, Instagram and TikTok earlier. It's great if we can engage new generations, new people, different demographics. Like that's what Record is about, to serve the church and to serve everyone in it. And just reflecting on Record Live for the year, I'm going to go around and surprise you all with a quick question. What's been your favorite episode? For me, it's been the David Riley episode. I thought that was really awesome. But, Sunita, do you have a favorite?
This is so hard. They all just become a blur. I'm going to say we had someone on talking about stress recently. He's just written a book called The Stress Recovery Effect, and I found that really interesting. But that is obviously our latest guest, so it's the top of my mind. There was heaps of good ones.
Anything, Juliana, Ashley, anything come to mind? If not,
I don't remember, to be honest, but I'm with Lanita. I think the one about stress, and yeah, it was really insightful. Very timely as well.
Go back and watch the stress ones. There were 2 of those, and because we need double help with our stress, and the David Riley one is definitely worth watching. Ashley, anything?
Look, I'm blanking a little bit too. I will say that one with the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea was very interesting. That was very cool that you got to interview him, and I think it's just exciting to see a country that has an Adventist as the Prime Minister, and yeah, well, the things that are exciting that are happening over in PNG that are really exciting. So that's the only other one that right now I can think of.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is the fun thing about doing it live. We've got Tanya who wrote the article that we were referring to about the mental health journeys, and she has received some great feedback. And I've had other correspondence for that article. So it's fun to see Tanya watching. Thank you for watching, and thank you so much for contributing that article. We've run out of time. We need to let everyone go, but I just want to thank you guys for your service for Record this year. And as we mentioned, some of the trips that you've done, some of the people you've met, and some of the things you've been able to put together, it's been amazing. The Instagram is humming, the Record Wrap, the other podcasts that we have, Juliana is primarily responsible for that, and that's a news podcast. Most weeks it comes out. It's really worth listening to. So if you want any news updates, please do that. If you're not connected to the WhatsApp, you can also follow us there. And keep watching Record Live, because we've got some great interviews lined up. Next week, we've got Dr. Brendan Pratt, who is the AUC president, the new AUC president, and he's going to talk about consumerism and materialism and all those things in the lead up to Christmas. I think it's a very pertinent topic. So that's exciting. Yes, Sunita?
Before we leave, I think we should just shout out to the rest of the team who works on Record as well, to Darnell, to Julie, Dora, Tracy, and Olivia as well. There's many people who work on Record to pull it together each fortnight. So yeah, they're not with us today, but we're also very grateful for them.
100%. So thank you. And thank to you guys who watch, who listen, who write, who support. What can you do practically this week? Well, write us articles, comment, like, share our content. It helps. Continue to engage, because without Record, without you as part of Record would cease to exist. We wouldn't need Record if you weren't part of it. So thank you all for your contributions as well. We've got to love ya and leave ya, as they say in Australia. So thank you for joining us today, and God bless, and we'll see you next week.